Alright, this is Mason Dixon. In my head, I always thought that I liked this place. And I remember getting done with this race and, like, thinking to myself, like, why did I hate this so much? Why didn't I have any fun? So, I have some technical issues with my quad. Man, it took me almost like 8 hours to clean my quad up to a relatively good point where I could do just preventative maintenance and stuff like that coming off of John Penn. And one of the things that I've been struggling with this red quad is the steering. And I've messed with just about everything when it comes to getting it to steer. And it looks like I'm having issues with my power steering, so my power steering cut out in this race. About 20 minutes in, and I couldn't get the quad to turn. So the other issue is my suspension. It's doing this thing where even on little bumps, it's pogoing the front end up. So I gotta call B&R on Monday and see like what's going on. It got so bad, like you have to drive a 4x4 to kind of understand what I'm talking about. But what'll happen is if I hit a bump, like if I go to like jump over something, when the front wheels hit the bump, it springs the quad upwards, and that's a problem, especially on a 1000cc, because when you go to accelerate, it makes the quad want to wheelie, and it's dangerous because once your wheels are off the ground, you can't steer. You know, so wheelies look cool and shit, and they're fun when you're not in between trees and stuff. But for this race right here, this was the whole track was basically off camber. It had a lot of uphills and then downhills, and then when you're on a 4x4, when you come down to, when you're coming down a hill and then you got to make a quick like left turn or in a switchback, if your power steering isn't working and your steering's dicked up, it makes for a really long day. So, however, I will say that there were a lot of people who broke down and had issues. It was a hot day. You couldn't see shit. There's it's the same thing as always. Like the camera will pick up stuff that I can't with the human eye. So there's parts in here where if the camera's completely washed out, I'm washed out. And a guy I work with was like, hey man, he's like, listen, he's like, when we were deployed, we used to wear these lenses that helped with dust. So I used a different set of lenses while I was in the woods, and it actually helped. I've stayed away from using different colored lenses because I went to a race one time at D6 where I had forgotten my goggles, and my buddy had a pair, but they were like, they were like shaded, and it was like wearing fucking welding goggles while I was out in the woods. It was fine in the field sections, but as soon as you got into the canopy, it was terrible. But I had strep throat earlier last week. I went to a hotel and I had Buffalo Wild Wings the night before, and dude, I woke up and I was puking and shit. And last year at the Buckwheat, I just got on the quad and I was like, why am I even here? Like, I'm gonna ride like ass, and it was kind of like that. But I didn't include it in the video, but I went through the pits and Seegers handed me one of them straw doohickeys with like Gatorade in it, and I'll tell you what, that was the motherfucking shit right there. That was mother's milk, because I felt right as rain when I after I had that. So maybe from puking and then Buffalo Wild Wings Brown Laser, I might have been a little bit dehydrated. But like I wasn't, when I was out there, I wasn't like cardiovascularly fucking hurt. Like I was, you know, the track, like, you know, I went back in time, and I got off topic for a second. I went back in time and I used to say, man, Mason-Dixon used to be a lot of fun. And it turns out that they changed the track. The Mason-Dixon, I guess, splits two properties, and the one property is like I couldn't see shit right here. The one property is very flowy, and it's like little. It's not as tight as this. I mean, this isn't like super tight, but it's not. There's some parts where the trees kind of encroach on you. But the other side of the track is way better. And I was like, man, this is fucking miserable. And it's just another year of where GNCC did the same exact track, except backwards. You know, there was no place to pass here either. So, you know, I heard stories of people about, you know, people screaming at one another and stuff like that. It's like, you know, it's a national series. They really need to cut, you know, places to pass and pull over. You know, a little bit of both. But like this bullshit right here, like they put the chicane in, and it was creating bottlenecks all day long. Like, it's just like, why are you doing shit like this? It doesn't, you know, who does this help? But like that's just been like, you know, this year has been a real step back as far as what your money gets you in regards to GNCC. And, you know, I try not to be negative, and I try not to say anything negative, because I know that somebody in the series or people in the series watch this video, and I'm not trying to put the spotlight on me any more than it already is. And in fact, like, that was like the thing with, you know, should I keep showing videos, is because I just want to go out there and fucking race. That's it. You know, I use this racing as a coping mechanism, as a way to keep me in shape. You know, to have something to look forward to every couple of weeks. I like the camping aspect and seeing my friends, but like lately I've been like, I don't want to do this anymore. With GNCC, not racing quads. You know, I'm like, I'm having more fun when I go to locals and stuff like that. But, you know, there's a couple of things that, like, you know, the quality of the series is going downhill, and one of the reasons is like these track layouts. Like, I don't mind racing the same track as long as it, you know, is, you know, decent. But like, you know, this whole race twice at the same place shit is nonsense, because not only does the track get beat to death and it doesn't have a chance to recover, but like, if you're like me, like, I don't like Big Buck, right? So if I go to Big Buck, I'm gonna have a bad race. So that's 2 races a year where I know I'm gonna do shitty, and you can see it reflected in my racing times. Like, if you go and you look at it, you know, they're not cutting release into the track. It's just like easy mode for them. And you know what, the other thing too is like, they're taking out field sections so that there's more parking, instead of like having a designated area for people to park in and a way to park. Like, it doesn't matter what event you go to. You know, I can only speak from being a kid from Philly, right? So like, when you go to a Flyers game, there's people directing you where to park. When you go to an Eagles game, there's people, you know, directing you where to park. Sixers, Phillies, all, you know, any of the major sports teams in my hometown, You're gonna park where they tell you to park. And oh, by the way, if you want to meet up with your friends, well, then you set that shit up before you enter through the gate. You go to a Walmart parking lot or a Wawa or whatever, and then you set it up, and then you all roll in at the same time, and you park next to one another. I mean, like, I don't understand it. And for them to say that they can't find tracks, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me, especially since, like, GNCC is sitting here and they're complaining about, oh, there's not enough room for parking in Vendor Row, but we race at Penton twice. It used to be twice a year. So GNCC goes and they say, well, instead of racing six times out of the year, which is half of the fucking series, at the same three tracks, we're just going to take a round away from you. Well, for like guys like me, oh yeah, here's this clown fucking wooing me to pass me. So this is the guy in my class that like cheats and shit like that, and it's bad form to woo somebody in your class. You're supposed to get around them. But I officially have had it with this dude, fucking weirdo. Anyway, so the racing in the same fucking tracks is bullshit. You have all summer long, and then after the season is over, to find quality tracks. And I mean, it's their full-time job. You know what I mean? They've increased the gate fee. They've increased the registration fee. You used to be able to pre-register on Thursdays. You can't do that now. So if, usually, like, it doesn't even enter into my mind until, like, the Thursday before, like, oh, I got GNCC coming up, I'll fucking pre-register. And then they get this shit, like the gate fee thing, where you get the, like, QR code. Like, that's great. Like, that is awesome. I love it. It stops me from having to go to an ATM, because I always forget to go to an ATM. So why the hell can't I buy the QR code right before I hit the gate? And like, trying to find a QR code is like next to impossible. And then my friends tell me that they have this, like, you can pay the whole year and then you get a card. Well, just fucking if I know, I didn't know anything about it. Like, like, it's just gotten more and more, like, the staff at GNCC is really good. Like, the people who help day-to-day operations, they're very good. Like, they're friendly. They all seem to have a good time. A lot of them know who I am now, and they're nice to me. So I feel terrible saying, like, yo, you need to tighten it up. But on the down low, they'll all tell me without naming names, like, we know that there's a problem where we're not getting what people want because they're hearing the people complain. And it's like everything, like, from, like, they went to these, like, clear plastic trophies, which I prefer, but, like, one of the things, like, I kind of, like, ignored with people was they're fragile. And sure enough, this weekend my plaque broke. The little wristbands that you get for each series, like, especially the little kids, like, they like that stuff. Like, you used to get, like, really, like, intricate wristbands. They don't do that anymore. Like, like the one from this weekend says straight up, like, it's white and it says Mason Dixon. The other ones used to have, like, a little design and shit. And here's me trying to keep up with Matt. I think it's right around here where my power steering takes a shit, because I cannot turn the bars at this point. And the other thing too with GNCC is they took an extra 10 minutes, I think, away from us. That's 2 or 3 years in a row where they've taken time from the racers away from how many laps you get. So, like, this weekend, like, I was having a bad race. Like, I needed that 4th lap. They threw the fucking white flag out because Brandon Frazier was having the fucking ride of his life. But, like, okay, great. Well, the pros are out. The pros are parked. Give us that extra lap, but they won't do it. because if they've cut down our time to race, you know, and it's like I don't want to complain too much, because then they'll do that horse shit where the series will make you fucking work the track and then give you points for it, which is complete nonsense. But every track we've gone to this year, every layout, except with the exception of Florida. Well, I mean, and even Florida, like, now the rumor I heard at Florida is that part of the property got reduced because they were under something with agriculture, like they needed cows to graze it and they weren't allowed to let GNCC race there. But what happened is that now Florida is now all 99.9% woods. There's no field sections. Big Buck, they took out all the field sections for parking. Coker used to be awesome. You used to get to like go all around the lakes and stuff like that. Like, you go look at my old videos and look at the track layouts, and look at them now. Look at the track layouts now. They're not as like the track layouts now feel like locals. Like, it was like, here's the best we can do with this property. Let's see if we can make it work. And that's not like, you know, GNCC, every race had something that was unique to it. You know, like Florida, they had the fucking, you know, the mud pits. Big Buck had a creek jump, or the General, I can't remember. You know, you had what was that? The place in North Carolina, Steel Creek. You went through the water. You know, Ironman has the hills. They've taken all of that away from the AM riders, and they've taken away the spectator, the ability of the spectator to watch. All of the fucking races are within like an hour of Morgantown, which is where GNCC is stationed out of, or placed out of, wherever you want to say it, operates out of. You know, it's like, you know, last year, like, I raced Iowa for a little bit. Iowa has some great courses. You're telling me that you cannot find a track in New York? And on top of the fact that some of the tracks don't even want GNCC back, and, you know, that like, they won't go into it. I'm not going to tell tales out of school, but I was told specifically by 2 track owners in New York, they don't want GNCC back. You know, I don't know why. I don't know what the you know, the heartburn is and shit like that, but, you know, like, it's what they call death by 1,000 cuts. It's not just one little thing after a while, and this has all been post-COVID. Now, I don't work for GNCC. I can't play, you know, and it would be unfair for me to not play devil's advocate to say, like, okay, like, maybe they're having staffing issues. You know, maybe, I don't know, maybe someone's sick, or they're having, you know, I don't know. You know, I don't want to sound like I'm bashing it, but, like, it's getting hard. Like, you know, like last weekend, right? The last race at Penn. You know, it's like $300-400 in diesel to get to one of these races, on top of, you know, race fees, on top of, like, you know, like, that's like what I was bitching about with Iowa. Like, you know, it's like a couple $100 in diesel, and I get up there and everyone's cheating. You know, like, I'm not, like, that's all fine and good. If you know, if you don't care, then why are you cheating? And, you know, why are you even here? You know, I get that people are cheat. They do things to, you know, because they're competitive and adrenaline gets going, and you don't think clearly. I get it. I trust me, I get it. But like with Penton, right? They like, there were racers who said GNCC directed us to a path that cut 3-4 miles out. They self-reported, and then GNCC didn't fix the fucking scoring. And this isn't the first time. In 2019, I got screwed at Penton. This is one of the reasons I don't like it. Anyway, like, you're not going to fix the scoring. You know, you're not going to, like, why am I driving all the way out here if I'm not going to have a fair chance to, you know, to win? You know, it's like the same thing like with guys sandbagging. Like, your GNCC isn't doing anything about watching who sandbags. I don't care about anything from B class and up. I'm talking about C class guys. You know, you're keeping people out of the sport. You're going to make race parents are already touchy as it is, and you're going to make race parents even more pissed off, because some of these race parents are fucking, you know, are stringing things together on a budget, especially with how shitty the economy is. You know, you're providing a service to people, and it just seems like it's like, well, fuck them, they're still going to keep coming anyway. I don't know. The only complaint I've ever had about the ATV industry is it's like almost difficult to give people money. You know, like you I guess because like it's not Holly or Vortex superchargers or Magnaflow headers or Magnaflow exhaust, like these larger companies. You know, the customer service, I guess, just isn't there. But you know, it's an issue that needs to be addressed. You know, and the dual track thing, the track layouts, the facilities, how the land is getting treated. It all seems to be about maximizing profit, which I understand to keep things rolling. But if you're gonna maximize profit, at some point you have to take that money and reinvest it back into the series. And if that means hiring somebody, or giving somebody $1,000 for a week to drive around like the East Coast and Midwest of the United States, I mean, like, think about this for a second. You're telling me that we can't find land in Texas? Like, we can't find land in Ohio? Illinois? The IXCR? We used to co-sanction with other racing series. They stopped that. Again, I don't know what happened there too. I don't know what the ass pain was there too. So, and that's why I asked in my last video if people wanted me to, like, quote unquote rant. But I'm hoping that maybe, like, through me, like, saying, like, hey, there's been a significant drop in quality the last 2 years since I've come, post pandemic, when we went to the quote unquote Bulldog. Like, if you guys, like, if you're just watching this video and you're like, why is this guy complaining? Go to my GNCC the General video and look at the state of that track and how we raced at that track. It just I don't know. I don't want this series to go away, and I want it to succeed, and it just seems like there's I can tell you that, as somebody whose whole life used to revolve around cars, that eventually, if you're around cars enough, and I guess this kind of goes with anything, you eventually start to get sick of it, and you're like, it loses its mystique. You see behind, quote unquote, see behind the curtain. Like, when I was a kid, I was like, oh my god, I'd cut a finger off to get to go to SEMA. Now, if you're like, hey man, can you go to SEMA for us? I'm like, dude, come on, seriously? I don't ever want to go back to SEMA ever again. Because it becomes work, and certain people take the fun out of it. And I'm not trying to be one of those people, but there's something needs to give. We're getting less and less for our dollars, while we're being asked for more of our dollars. And this all this controversy with the 4x4 Pro guys. Anybody who rides a 4x4 getting singled out. Like, the fucking 4x4 guys don't, like, most of us don't. I would say that everyone I know who races a 4x4 doesn't really complain. But like, if you accidentally even look at a fucking sport quad rider or a female rider the wrong way, they're at the fucking trailer yelling at you, and you're like, hey man, like, there's nothing wrong with my quad. Like, what are we talking about here? Now, I've known some 4x4 riders who are overly aggressive, and a lot of them, I don't see them racing the series anymore, so that kind of works itself out. But I had a couple things, like, even when I was on my ride home, that I kind of jotted down, where I was like, you know, like, here's a good one. What happened to high voltage? Like, we can't go to high voltage anymore? I mean, it's like, that was a fun track. I like that track. You know? And like, the other thing too is, like, they took away side-by-sides. I mean, I get that, like, there might have been like an insurance thing going on there or whatever, but like, you can't tell me that you can't work these things out. There isn't a way to work things out. I don't know. Like, A-Works has side-by-side racing. IXCR has side-by-side racing. I used to enjoy watching the side-by-side guys race. I don't know. Am I alone here? Can you, like, tell me some of the issues that you've experienced? You know, like, and again, not to get back, like, there's an AMA guy at every race with GNCC whose only job is to make sure that you have your AMA sponsorship or your AMA membership, right? You have to have your AMA membership, right? Now, I'm not going to get into my whole thing with the AMA, but the whole time the guy's standing there or sitting there, you're telling me he can't go through an Excel spreadsheet of all the riders and making sure that the riders are in their proper class? You know, like, if there's a sandbagger, you go onto the AMA's website where it has a record of the racers. It's a quote unquote AMA rider search. You can see in that there's a repository that tells you where everyone is supposed to be riding wise. Like, they can't do a quick Google for everyone that's registered. I mean, if you're shutting free registration off on Wednesday night, you know, why can't you ensure that, you know, things are good for all the C-class riders and first year riders, you know? So that, you know, that's kind of what's, you know, I had my GoPro footage confiscated at one point this year. You know, it's just, it's like they're focusing on all the wrong things. I'm happy to say that they have been ignoring the GoPro rule. You know, the one asshole that was taking everyone's GoPro, I don't see him working there anymore. In fact, I haven't seen him working since, I think they fired his ass because he wasn't cool. Wasn't cool at all. So, but yeah. So that's kind of my rant. Like, I'm trying to. I'm not. You know, I don't hate GNCC, and I don't hate anybody that races GNCC. And there's some people that get on my nerves or whatever. But like, and I don't hate. You know, like, hate's a strong word. There's things about, there's places, there's stuff with this that needs a little bit of room for improvement, and, you know, that's all we're asking for. We're paying for, you know, like, make GNCC unique again. Make it so that, you know, that there's a thing, like, you know what? I'll take some of it back. They had a little bit of an enduro this weekend for the afternoon guys. You know, I would have liked that. I mean, shit, I got a 4x4. I'll jump them fucking telephone poles to get a couple, especially if I'm behind and I can gain a minute, like have a thing at each round like you used to. It makes people want to come out there. Like it sucks when I tell my friends like, hey man, like Indiana's like a fucking long ass drive, but you got to come with me because when we go out there, they're gonna have this hill climb. People are gonna get rowdy. Like same thing with Howard's Hole. How the fuck are you gonna take Howard's Hole away from people? You know what I mean? What? Because it takes you an extra hour to pull people out of the mud? Then schedule fucking accordingly. Start us earlier. You know what I mean? It's a goddamn off-road race. Tell everybody they need lights or something. I don't know. Make it fucking off-roady. If we're gonna do off-road, squirrely shit, I'm down for that stuff. I don't want to do anything dangerous, but like, I want to go through fucking Howard's Hole with my 4x4. Is it that big of a fucking deal? I don't get it. Like, and it's little things that have been taken away. Little things. What else? I've only been doing this for 5 years. I know some of you has been fucking doing this forever. Leave something in the comments about something that got taken away that isn't around anymore. I'd like to hear what you have to say. And I know that someone, again, not beating a dead horse, I know someone in GNCC watches my videos because I without getting too far into it, I get feedback, about like what they, because they see what these cameras are the eyes and ears for them. They're not really out there. Like, they'll set up the track and shit, but they won't see it like the quote unquote the pulse. So that's been my rant, and I'm seriously thinking about like not doing GNCC next year. That's the last part of my thing. Like, I can't. Like, if we do dual tracks next year, I just can't. I can't do it. Niowa is too good of a series. New East Coast is too good of a series. I'll ride down to Mid East if I need to, and then I'll race GNCC when it's convenient for me. You know what I mean? But like, how the fuck are we gonna do Big Buck twice when we have, High Voltage is a fun track. The other side of Mason-Dixon is a fun track. Like, you want to do Mason-Dixon twice? Do one side of Mason-Dixon and then the other side. Because this like dusty ass off camera fucking no flow shit ain't fun. Anyway, I'm done. So yeah, I hit everything on my little list here. Anyway, that's my rant. So people said that they liked my voiceovers, and I know people must be liking them because I see other YouTubers fucking doing voiceovers all the time now. So, not to pat myself on the back, but like, I don't know anybody else who did a rearward facing camera before me, or did a 360 camera before me, or did a voiceover. So it's good to see that number one, somebody's watching my shit, and B, like, that I can kind of like, be like, hey, they liked what I did, and they're doing what I did. Imitation's a form of flattery. Some guys get all fucking butthurt about that shit, but I think it's kind of nice. Someone sees your car and they make your car look like, you know what I mean? It's they're in some sort of weird way they're paying you a compliment. So yeah. So sorry, this fucking video isn't very exciting. That's why I talked for so long. Like, this track was not like, it was not, I didn't battle with anybody. There was no one was like flipping over or any of that shit. It's kind of vanilla. But I left it in here so you can see, you really can't see how off camber it is, and you can't see the elevation changes. But you know, it was dusty, it was hot, it was not it was just a track. It was very, it was like a Tinder date that didn't, like, you know, it just didn't go anywhere. We were like, no, I don't like you, and she was like, I don't like you either, let's just you know, be friendly and part ways. That's kind of how this shit went. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope my rant wasn't too, I hope no one got insulted. And then, yeah, I'll see everyone at Snowshoe. So, yeah, that'll be fun. Maybe I'll remember my SD card this time. So, alright, love you. Stay safe.